Welcome to the last part of how to live stream series. I want to make a disclaimer first. This part is not much about the live stream itself, but rather how I make this part 1 and part 2 video. I will discuss about my workflow and the filming itself. So actually the more accurate title for this video should be how I prepare a pre-recorded video, because both part 1 and part 2 is pre-recorded, not live. Let's talk first about the tools and the software that I use during the filming. I will put the list in the description below, but on the table now you can see all the gear that I use for the filming. Let's start with the main camera first. So I'm using this Sony a6400. It's capable for continuous video recording and can give clean HDMI output should I plan to use it for live stream purpose. It got this flip screen so that I can see myself during the filming, and because this flip screen is on the top parallel to the lens, I can maintain more natural eye contact compared if I use the camera that have this flip screen on the side. The downside for this is that I cannot put anything on top of here. For example, like external mic, I need to find adapter. For example, this example of the adapter that I use. When I have this adapter, I can mount my wireless mic on the side, and also it still have this thread at the bottom, so I can mount this camera to the tripod if I need to. Okay, about the wireless mic, I'm using this Rode Wireless Go, and this is the receiver. I keep the transmitter with me, and with the transmitter you see the wire here connected to this lavalier over here. So this become my main audio system, because I want the flexibility of moving here and there but still can maintain clear and stable audio. Because this wireless thing use battery, I need to always be aware, because there are times that I shoot but I don't realize that the battery is long dead, so I end up redo the shooting again. But the good thing about this camera is that I can see the level, now it's live because I'm talking, and also I'm recording the audio from this camera, so you can see there are like bar here. So that's a good thing because I know that it's connected. Sometimes I want to film myself during the filming itself, so I will use this this camcorder. And sometimes if I want to use a wide angle or weird angle shooting, I will use this GoPro. And because all the filming is done by myself, I mean alone, I need help from this Mr. Tripod. I'm using the standard one for the most of the filming, this one, and this one for the most of the filming. But sometimes I use, for example, this small one, if I want low or any weird angle footage. For B-roll footage or any footage that require extended movement, I'm using this Zhiyun M2 gimbal for stabilization. I'm using this particular gimbal because this gimbal is extendable. What I mean that I can use this gimbal for GoPro, for this camcorder, and also for this camera. So its application is expandable. So basically all these are the tools that I use during filming how to live stream video. As for the software, I'm using Premiere Pro to edit my video, and also Camtasia to record my screen. Of course, OBS can also record the screen, but if I want to show the audience that I'm using the OBS, I need another recording software like Camtasia. I think that's all for now about the tool and software that I use. That is basically what I'm using for filming. Now let's see how I use the thing. But before that, let me clean this table and change this camera with my main camera first. Okay, so is it much better now? I think so. One thing about this camera though is that it got this fast autofocus, meaning that if I have this thing and I put in front, it will focus on the stuff, and then if I bring it back, it will focus on me. So this autofocus thing, it can be very important if you plan to video yourself moving here and there, so that everything is in focus. Anyway, back to my workflow. Basically, my workflow can be divided into 3 stages: scripting, filming, and editing. I can say about half of the time, 50% of the time was spent on scripting, 20% on filming, and 30% for editing. Let's talk about the scripting first. In front of me now, I have this 3 script for part 1, part 2, and part 3. When I say about scripting, I mean that you need to write everything, not just the bullet point. Previously, I am very skeptical about this scripting. Why bother spending time writing this, and this if you can just think on the spot and shoot straight away? will that be much faster workflow and also can give more what we call natural and more authentic feeling to the video itself? Well, for the first, I am not really good in talking impromptu, fluently like some person. So that's one reason for me for scripting. Secondly, about being natural and being authentic. Do you think that I'm reading, do I look that I'm reading from the script right now? You know by now that I am scripting, but does that mean that I'm reading or I'm memorizing line by line for every script? Not necessarily, because if you see now, I just putting my script on the lens over there. I just take this, what we call this sellotape or blue tack. You can use a blue tack. Put on the back of your script, and then I just attach to the what we call the lens over there. So it's basically I'm reading on the script that is in front of my camera now. I'm not using this blue tack, but rather I'm using this thing. I'm using this, what we call this. This is the yellow tack. This for the composite, for the sealing thing, for the vacuum seal. It's much more stronger than this blue tack. It's just a preference lah. I like this thing because it's much more, give more stronger adhesion. So my paper there will not, what we call, fall off easily compared if I just use the blue tack. The people in YouTube, in what we call in news anchor, whatever, they use this teleprompter put in front of this camera. That's much better lah, but another investment lah. Anyway, that's about the scripting. So I do scripting and I do write on the script in front of the camera right now. When I say that I'm reading from the script, it doesn't mean that I need to read line by line, because sometimes I just improvise. For example, now there are no script for this. If I reading the script straight away, it will become like this. For me, the idea of scripting is to force you to think clearly and plan ahead. If I just put the bullet point, it just tell me rough idea about what to say. So in the end, I end up wasting more time to think about how to start the sentence, how to connect this, how to connect that, what to say next, and so on. There are reasons why drama, movie, news anchors use the script in their profession. So that's what in the script. So that's what if I, if I reading line by line from the script. But most of the time, I don't. I use the script as a guide only, rather than like a crutch for me to follow everything. Yeah. But scripting truly make a difference though. Let me read. Scripting truly make a difference though. It make filming much more easier. And try it and you will be amazed by how easy the filming will become. So that's how if I read the script. But now, yeah. Stream. Sometimes the idea just come like that. For example, in the opening of part 2, I show some chess set. So that's not in the script at all. So what I do is that I just write the key point on the board so that I can remember what I want to say and then talk from that. So as you can see, you don't need to be limited by the script itself. Don't let the script become your crutch. Use the script as a guide only. You can always improvise the script during the filming itself. I think that's all about the scripting. It's just basically you write everything down on the paper and then use that as a guide during the filming itself. Okay, talking about the filming, for me, I focus on two things. First, the content. The content comes from the script, so that's done. The second is about the transition, how I transition from one scene to another scene. For example, now I'm in the office. If I want to show to you about how I film my video, I need to go to the lab. I want to wear a lab coat, so I open the closet and I take my lab coat. And now I am with my lab coat. So transition like this, you can always learn from others, maybe from YouTube, from a movie, from drama that you saw before. For example, in the beginning of the part 1, I show you that I'm in the office and then suddenly I'm in front of the lab. So that transition I learned from one of the YouTube footage by Aja. I will show you after this which clip that I use. And then after that, I will show you how I did it. And then I will see you in the lab.
Siapanya idea nak buat transition macam tu?
Now I am in front of the lab. is very important for And talking about the illusion, this is type of the illusion. Whatever you see just now is taken after the live stream done. Okay, before the live stream, of course, I'm thinking about what to do during live stream and so on. So I'm not really have time to do all these things. I just set up this camera and take the what we call the footage for the part 1. Part 1 is done before the live stream. So part 2 and part 3 is basically done after the live stream. So as you can see, I need a tripod, and also to take this image, I need another tripod here. And also in order to what we call to sync everything, because my audio is here, my audio is coming from this lavalier mic, I need to do like audio check. Normally what I do is this, like this. So now I have the sound wave there, sound wave there, and sound wave over there. So when I do editing later on, it's easy for me to sync all the video in one. So it saves a lot of hassle lah. So that's how you do it. As I said before, part 2 and part 3 of the series is taken after the streaming itself. The footage is taken after I'm done with the streaming. You can see the table there is quite messy, and here everything is actually the day of the streaming. And let's go to the sink. And see, this is the glassware that we just taken before from the actual completed live streaming. But in part 2 of the series, I show in such a way that people think that this is done before the streaming itself. And yes, I reading the script now to see what I want to say. But if I too lazy, I just take this, what we call the blue tag, whatever this is, yellow tag, put here, and I will put on the camera here. Okay. Okay. So I can see it. Okay, it's not really clear. Let me go in front a little bit. Am I still? Yeah. Okay, so now I need to wear everything first before I start filming. Because now everything here is already have all the solvent from the what we call from the actual live stream, so that can be dangerous. That's why I still need to wear glove. If let's say I just taking this glassware, dummy glassware from the what we call cabinet, drying cabinet, then I don't need to wear a glove lah. But because this is actual compound, so I need to wear a glove. Okay, so now it's time for me to do what we call footage for the part 2. So how did I do it? I just read the script over there. For example, like this. After the chemical, let's talk about the glassware. So if you can see here, I'm prolonging this footage so that should I want to show the illusion that I'm doing it, then in the part 2, I will try to speed it up using a time lapse. So I keep recording even though I don't need to. And even though I need to redo, I don't think it takes a lot of time because I have a script ready and I just do the thing and film myself doing it. The bulk of the time, as I mentioned before, is because of the scripting. You need to plan ahead and so on. But once you have a script, then everything is just like a clockwork. It's just you just follow the script and just like that. Okay, so today is Thursday. It's basically 4 days after the actual live streaming, and today I plan to do majority of the filming for the part 2 of the series. The problem now, I have a class, online class in 5 minutes time. So I think I will do the class first and then I will get back to you later. Okay. Okay, now I'm done with my online class. As you can see that you don't need to do everything in one go. you can always shoot this part first, that part later, and then combine them together during the editing process later on. If you remember that the footage, the previous footage is me outside the lab, and then after that I'm showing you that the footage I'm washing glassware near the sink. So that's basically taken 4 days ago for part 3. In fact, during the washing, the glassware washing, I'm taking the footage for part 2. So you can always mix and match like that. And the reason for that is normally because of time. As you can see just now, I have class, and then also I have meeting here and there. So I don't have like a luxury to have like the 1 day full to do all the filming. So if you have time, then it's a good idea to do everything in one go. It saves you a lot of headache during the editing later on. If you cannot, then you do mix and match, cut here, edit there, and like that. But if you do mix and match, please make sure you ensure that you have continuity in the final video. What I mean by that, if let's say you are preparing a series like part 1, part 2, part 3, like I'm doing now, if you realize I'm always wearing the same shirt. Part 1, I'm wearing this shirt, the black shirt, and also lab coat. Part 2, black shirt, lab coat. Part 3 also black shirt, lab coat. Because why? Because that gives the illusion to the audience that everything have a flow. And for me, that is important, because if not, your video will look jumpy if you combine here and there without proper planning. At the end of the part 1, this table is clean. So in order for me to start part 2, which is today, I must make sure I replicate the cleanliness of the table like the end of part 1. Remember, part 1, after part 1, I'm doing the live streaming. So that is messy there. So I need to clean, and then now for this later, after the streaming, I'm doing the what we call this part 2. I want to film the part 2. So I need to clean everything first to give the illusion that there are continuity from part 1 and part 2. And don't worry about a lot of what we call work to do, because you only need to clean the part that you want to show in the video, your final video. For example, if I take it down, you can see it's clean, and I can start shooting the video for part 2. But if you see on the other side, I bring you here. If you see on the other side, it's quite a messy there. It's a mess. Okay, it's a mess. Yeah, that's how it's done. You just clean place that you want to shoot. That saves you a lot of time. You do overall cleaning later on after you finish all the filming, because you don't want missing this, missing that, and so on. So you put everything in one place. Even though it mess, you can see easily what thing to do and to use later on. Okay, let's talk a little bit about setting up the scene, the environment or the mood during the filming. I think that is important because it gives somewhat a storyline throughout your video. For example, in part 1, you can see there are nothing on this table because I want to show the emptiness of the space. I want to discuss about the space. So let the previous me at that time explain to you. Most of the time, I need an empty and clean table like this in order for me to show the stuff easily on the video. But people don't realize behind this table, there are another table that is so messy. Yes, I can clean everything, but it takes time. So for the sake of certain clip, certain footage, I just hid this thing behind the table. So the back table now is clean and the front table is okay, so you can continue for the shooting. Okay, now coming back to my current me, so you can see that emptiness is needed for me to explain about the space. But now for the part 2, I don't need this. I don't really care about what happened at the back because I focus on my demo table. I want to focus on content preparation. So everything can be done on the demo table. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so this is my demo table later on for part 2. You can see I just want to use this part, and if I want to do like what we call the close up, I can use this what we call this GoPro, If I want to show the top view, I can use this one, the one that I already set up. And also because I'm working on this table, this main camera will not be on the side, will be in front of there. Okay. Yes, I know I can use that, but the resolution will be low lah. The reason for part 1, you can see part 1, I taking every footage from this angle, or I think not this angle, I think this angle, I think. Yeah, I think this angle. Okay, in part 1, most of the footage is from this angle because only by this angle you can see how I set up all this thing, all this equipment can be shown. This, and also the in front over there. I think now they are like backdrop, but before the backdrop is there, you can see also the projector and also the front cam. So that's the reason why I choose this angle. So this also under setting up the scene, the environment or the mood for the filming itself. It gives you the storyline.